Hi, this is Talking Europe. I'm Catherine Nicholson. Now, as we record this programme, we are partway through the Euro 2020 football tournament and just a couple of weeks off the Tokyo Olympics, both pushed back from last year when, of course, health officials deemed it too dangerous to hold mass sporting events. Now, the fact that they're finally happening is a sign of normal life returning, but beyond the elite level, sports are yet to fully restart, with restrictions in place for many activities. Now, while we may joke about putting on some extra pandemic pounds, there is a concern for many that lower level and amateur sports could take a long time to recover. And that includes for children kept off school for months on end, falling out of the habit of regular exercise. Now, with scientists flagging the health benefits of regular exercise, particularly against COVID, are our leaders perhaps missing a trick here? Should sport be a greater focus as we emerge from the pandemic? Here to discuss this with me, two sports-minded members of the European Parliament. We have a horse riding fan, Tiziana Beghin, from Italy's five-star movement. Horse riding, your sport of preference at the moment?
I practice riding. Yeah. And I was a former volleyball player when I was young, and for sure a big supporter of Italy national team.
Of course. And opposite you, we have Ivan Stefanek, Slovakian MEP, and also a marathon runner. And you've got your granddaughter into running as well.
That's right. Currently, I'm preparing myself for next marathon, so I'm happy to exercise here in Brussels or back home to Slovakia. And also, I have to say, I love cycling as well.
So plenty of sports covered here on set. Now, a report was recently put out by the Centre for Sport and Human Rights, which is all about this topic, and they're particularly concerned about how this hiatus has harmed children's well-being in particular. So just to get your point of view on this, Tiziana Beghin, how much has the pandemic had a negative impact on exercise and that aspect of health?
Yeah, unfortunately, pandemic had a very big effect. And in a negative form, unfortunately. We know that also before pandemic, we have the kids that I think in the last year are the least active of the last years. And this is a problem. But now with pandemic, we had a very big dropout of activity, most of all with children and also teenagers aged from 13 to 19, and 20%, it seems, also 20% for adults. We had a change of practicing sports for adults and also teenagers that maybe had to change because of the difficulty to get facilities, sport facility. But in general, we had a very, very bad impact, more inactivity, and also a forecast that in 2020 told us that more than 80% of young people was very affected from COVID-19 in terms of mental health and inactivity. And so the most frequent feelings that they have experienced was apathy, anxiety, and unfortunately also the cycle wake up was completely changed, and also eating disorders. So I think that it must be a focus that we as politicians at all have to take in mind and to bear in mind.
Ivan Stefanek, I know I mentioned that you go out running with your own granddaughter. Of course, schools and sports facilities are gradually reopening at this point. Do you think that there will be a natural, organic return to sport and exercise, or do you think that more should be actively done to get us all out there exercising again?
We can actually support that because definitely I see many children, many students who love to make sports, who love exercising, to make exercises, and we have to support it. Definitely, sports suffered a lot during pandemic, and we know that the mental and physical shape is connected. So, in order to be in better mental shape, also for our young generation, we have to support physical activities. I was happy when I saw during pandemic that, for example, there were many even gym lessons online. So there were teachers who supported at least online exercising and running at home, running at every condition, so at least something. But what we can do from our perspective, definitely we can support better sports infrastructure, and we can give some good examples and share experience among the countries.
Now, I'm sure many of our viewers aren't aware of the ins and outs of how the EU is implicated in this. There was actually nothing in the EU treaties about sport until the year 2009, and the European Union has very limited competencies or powers in the area of sport. It's something that's very much left up to each individual member state. Tiziana Beghin, where do you see that there could be some kind of pan-European role? Is that appropriate?
Yes, I think that we have many differences between member states and member states, also in COVID restriction measure, and for sure in what happened about sport. But in general, we saw that we had a decrease in practicing sports. But it is an European problem. We know that nearly 6 million jobs are sport-related. We know that GDP that is around sport world is around 2% of total EU GDP. So it is an European topic, and we have to support and to follow it as European. Unfortunately, it's not an exclusive issue of European Union, and for sure we have different also play of legislation, but we can give a big support with programs that are concept in this kind for health, but not just for health. We have Health for You. It is a little bit now under debate because the word sport never appear. But for sure, prevention and also reference to health and to well-being is always brand. And then we have Erasmus+, and in Erasmus+, we have a lot of possibility. What I think is that now for grassroots sport, for the small association that are more amatorial, it is very difficult to get these funds and to have a real support, that we have to work harder in this direction.
Ivan Stefanik, is that where you see?
Yeah, I see it similarly.
Aspect?
It is national competence, but we can support it by many programs. As it was mentioned, Erasmus Plus sports program, for example, there are many good ideas and many good sources how to support sports events and sports infrastructure. On top of that, the European Commission organized recently so-called EU Sport Forum for sharing experiences. In September, we will have so-called EU Sport Week. Recently, it was like 16 million Europeans attended. Yeah. So there are very good initiatives and good events which can motivate people for sport, and also they can give good examples. And of course, I have to say that professional sport and sport for amateurs, it is connected somehow as well, because from professional sports, there are some good examples who can be followed by youngsters. So it's very important that also we support professional sports, which can bring excitement and it can bring some competition, which is positive at the end.
Just zoning in specifically on a programme called EU for Health. This is designed to be part of the EU's response to the pandemic, part of the recovery. Now, this is worth 5.3 billion euros. When you compare that to the overall EU recovery plan of 750 billion, just to put that in context. But the focus of this EU for Health is very much on medical care, cure really, rather than prevention. How do you feel about that?
You are absolutely right. I would think opposite. Sport is the best disease prevention. So we should think about supporting sport as the method to prevent some diseases. So this is part of prevention. So we should think also, when we support health program, about sports and about basically supporting physical activity. So I would see more room for sports even in the health program, because it is connected.
Yeah, yes, I totally agree, and we know that the rate and the numbers say that almost 6% of deaths are linked to inactivity. We know that not eating disorder, but the inactivity has consequence also in obesity, also in being overweight. Most than 50% of European citizens are overweight.
But at the same time, there are civil liberties issues about, telling people how to live their lives and what to do. It's a fine line to tread.
Yes, it's true, but with prevention, with communication also, with supporting physical activity. Sport is something quite different, actually. Sport is also agonism, is competition, but physical activity is something that we have to incentivize a lot. And I think that in this kind, European Union and also the politicians at all levels can play a very important role.
And you mentioned about how many people work in the domain of sport and exercise. Should perhaps we be looking at this as an economic advantage to our member states?
It is the special field for economy, definitely it is. And we should, I think, differentiate amateurs and professionals, because professionals is the way how business is run, and we have to just to prepare fair and stable and simple rules for them. But to support sports for amateurs, this is kind of a health issue, as we talk. This is the best prevention. So this is also responsibility not only of national states, but I think it is the responsibility on European level as well.
All right, well, I'd like to thank you both very much for this discussion. Wish you a very fit and healthy summer, of course, and good luck for your marathon in the next few months. Thanks to both of my guests. Thanks to you as well for watching. Hope to see you soon here on Talking Europe for more European news.